I don't wanna be buried in Pet Cemetery. So, guys, we have another remake on our hands. As y'all all know, I have Pet Sematary #2 on my list. Was I impressed by this movie? Was I let down by this movie? Let's find out. Hey guys, this is your boy Bobby. Welcome back to my channel where I discuss and review your favorite horror movie. So last night I had the privilege of seeing an early screening of 2019's Pet Sematary. And as you guys know, Pet Sematary ranked #2 on my most anticipated top horror films this year. And does it remain #2 on this list, or did it drop down a couple compared to what just came out? Us. So Pet Sematary is about a family that just moved into a new home and realized that they have a whole backyard that's known as the Pet Cemetery. So when the family's cat Church passes away, Louis decides to bury his cat inside the Pet Cemetery, which was discovered by Judd a long time ago. And Judd is their new neighbor that they had made friends with, and also pretty much told Louis and the family about the Pet Cemetery. And when tragedy happened and the family's cat Church passes away, Louis decided to bury his cat inside the Pet Cemetery just because Judd pretty much told him about the history of the Pet Cemetery, and you know, for decades and just years and things like that, everybody buried their pets there just because they can go back there and visit their pets whenever they want to. But Judd was pretty much telling Louis, hey, like, how much does this mean to your daughter and your family? How much does this cat mean to your daughter and family? So Louis was just like, I mean, it's a big deal. That's my daughter's cat, you know, like he's a big part of the family. So Judd decides to take Louis onto a different part of the Pet Cemetery, which is kind of like far beyond the Pet Cemetery, and it's kind of just creepy and just like disgusting looking. And Louis has no idea where Judd is taking him. So they end up burying the cat in this like weird place with a whole bunch of rocks and things like that. Louis has no idea what's going on. Judd obviously knows. So the next day, Louis and Rachel try to tell their daughter Ellie that, you know, Church went away because they don't want to tell her that, you know, the cat passed away. But she was just like, no, he's not. He didn't run away. He's right there. So then they turn around and they find Church behind them looking really crazy and all types of crazy, as a matter of fact. And being as though this is a non-spoiler review, I only gave you guys just a little bit because obviously Pet Cemetery, we all know the cat dies. But it's so much that happens in this film. From the original, I don't want to compare this in an original because I love the original so much. And like I discussed in my, you know, my top 10 horror movies, Pet Cemetery is one of those films that's, you know, it makes you uncomfortable. It's, you know, unsettling, and the imagery and the music and just everything about the original film kind of hits you. Whereas though this film, it has the atmosphere down packed, maybe the music, and even the family, the actors are really, really good. So let's start with my pros of this movie. One of the biggest things I liked about this movie is the cat Church. Now Church is the family's cat, and he obviously dies in this film, and he dies in the original, he dies in the book. But like, I don't want to compare, but I'm going to have to compare just a little bit to the original. Church is not well, you know, played. I'm not going to say he's not well played because it's a cat, but you know, he's not in the film as much on the first one. Like, he is, but it's, you know, he's just there. You could just tell something's different with Church when he comes back. Where with this version, you could definitely tell something's different, but Church in this film is just an asshole. He does a lot of crazy, messed up stuff, you know, to the family, and it's kind of like, it's kind of crazy. And when I was in the theater, everybody was getting their life off of Church because he was just doing the absolute most. But Church was actually one of my favorite things in this movie. The cat was dope on here. And like I said before, the atmosphere, the environment of this film, you could just tell they filmed this outside. It wasn't really no sets that I know of. It was filmed all outside. You can just hear just nature all around, and being in the movie theater and experience it, in the surround sound, it puts you inside that environment, and it puts you, it just you just feel like you're a part of that whole like atmosphere in the movie, which was pretty amazing to me, because that was one of the things that I was afraid for this movie was in the original. It was very atmospheric. You can just tell, like I said, it was unsettling. Just everything about the movie with the characters, the atmosphere, the music, everything. And this movie kind of has that a little bit. As far as the atmosphere, yes, but the music, definitely the atmosphere is definitely one of the things I liked about this movie, because that's the whole Pet Sematary, and the house in this movie itself is a character of its own. Also, I love how the parents on here was talking about handling grief when it was explaining to their kid that when people pass away, people either go to heaven or they just put in a box. And there was a scene in this movie where the two parents were conflicted on how they deal with grief, and it was explaining this to this little girl, their daughter, and she was kind of confused, and even the parents was starting to be go back and forth a little bit, just because one of them felt different about death than the other one did, and they felt and one of them felt like it was too early to explain to their kid, and the other one was just like, well, they're old enough to understand because they're going to have to deal with this. So I kind of like that, because nowadays you have to kind of learn to teach your kid how to deal with death, because usually when a kid have a pet and they pass away, regardless if it's a damn fish, a dog, a cat, a lizard, whatever, you have to explain to them why things pass on and move on. Also, Judd, another main character in this movie, played by John Lithgow. John Lithgow is an amazing actor, so I was so happy when they had him playing Judd in this movie, because I loved Judd on the first one. Just this whole character on his own was great. So hearing John Lithgow playing Judd in this movie here, I was pretty excited about it, and he did just an amazing job. Judd in this movie, he's very sympathetic to what goes on with the family, but he makes a few mistakes as far as telling Lewis about the Pet Sematary and what happens when you go beyond that. And that was his biggest mistake right there, because that kind of ruins everything, what happened with this family. And even though that's kind of like a con too of mine, just because that's messed up, it wasn't necessarily his fault, because in the book, and even a little bit in this movie, they kind of explain there's forces out there beyond the Pet Sematary that's making these people act a certain way, or it pushes them to tragedy, so something can happen in the Pet Sematary, if you guys catch me. So I can't necessarily blame Judd, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. But I definitely love how this character was played in this movie. It was a great one. John Lithgow did a great job. Another thing I liked about this movie is the Windigo. Windigo's well-known creature, like a myth creature, where it's been talked about in a whole bunch of different books. You can Google the Windigo, and they talk about it in a little bit in the book. They never talked about it really in the original Pet Sematary movie, but they talked about it in this movie. And they didn't show and explain too much, but they brought up the Windigo and his part of why things are the way they are in the Pet Sematary. I think even in this movie they showed a glimpse of the Windigo, which was amazing, because I was terrified looking at that. I'm like, yo, what the hell is that? So if you guys don't know what the Windigo is, definitely Google it, and it's definitely a monster in the folklore, myth, area, or whatever you want to call it. It's this weird deer-headed creature, that can pretty much control people, possess people. It's like another demon, and they can put curse on things. And they kind of explained that a little bit in this movie, which was amazing. So I'm kind of happy they went that route in here. All right, so let's get into my cons. So one of the things I didn't really care for in this movie is the portrayal of Gage. Gage is the younger son in this movie, and he was a big role in the book and a big role in the original movie. But in this movie, being as though that there's a twist, which was also part of my pros. I forgot to mention the twist I kind of liked. but Gage wasn't really well used in this movie, and I kind of missed the essence of that character. So Gage was definitely a part of the movie that I wish played a bigger, I guess, a bigger part in here. Also, there's Zelda. Zelda was another one I kind of wasn't happy with this movie. She wasn't as terrifying as I remembered. In the book, she was terrifying. In the original movie, she's the one that gave me nightmares. I even said this on my other video on my top 10. But in this movie here, we barely got a chance to see anything with Zelda. Like, we did, but it didn't capture me, and it didn't terrify me as much as it did in the original one. And again, like I said, I don't want to compare, but when you do Pet Sematary, a lot of people only remember Zelda. So on this one, we kind of wanted a bigger impact, but I can understand where they were trying to go with this. And you know, the original is its own thing, and then this one's gonna be its own, but I think Zelda plays a big part in it, so I feel like Zelda should have been in here a little bit more. Also, the character of Pascal. Pascal was a big part of the original movie. In this one, he was kind of a big part, but again, kind of like Gage, he was kind of, you know, not used as well. And you kind of miss that essence of this character because Pascal was a big and huge part of the original one. Like, he did his best to help in certain situations, where on this one it's just like you see him pop up here and there, but that's it, and it's not really benefiting the family any type of way. So unfortunately, Pascal, like Gage, was underplayed and wasn't really well used in this movie. And the one last thing I feel like I disliked was I thought the ending of this film was rushed. It had an amazing first and second act. The first act is kind of slow, but it's a build up to the characters where you get to know them and, you know, understand them and, you know, just grow some love for these characters. And then the second act, that's when a lot of things go down. Third act, it starts off great, but then right when it starts to, you know, right when it's about to end, in my opinion, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. I mean, it was an awesome twist, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was different, but I expected it to be a little bit different because how things were, like, everything was just happening too quick, like bam, 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 and I felt like it was rushed, and I didn't quite understand it. I did like how it went off, like literally like how it went off, but the whole third act itself, I just felt rushed. I wish it didn't, you know, wasn't like that, but I left the theater and I was just like, wow, like I felt like this could have went somewhere or continued a different way, but it just felt like it just was trying to hurry up and finish after all that we got from the first and second act. So that was one of my biggest problems with this movie, of the rush, you know, final act. But overall, guys, I felt like Pet Sematary was a great film. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say it was horrible. I'm not going to say it was like amazing, but it was great. I liked it. I enjoyed myself. I will put the first original film and this one in two different categories, you know, because even though it's a remake, I like both of these films for two different reasons. I'm always going to go with my first one, the first original one, just because, like I said, that movie, you know, it's very dark and, you know, sinister, where this one, I can see it being that way, but it just didn't quite hit that mark for me. It tried and it had some things right, but they put a lot of effort into trying to capture the same essence of the first film and maybe even a book, but, you know, it just didn't hit me that way. But I will, you know, possibly buy this film just because I did enjoy it, I'm not gonna lie. So I give Pet Sematary a 6.5 out of a 10. It could have been higher, but there was quite a few things that I found wrong, in my opinion, in this film, and I wish it was kind of fixed. But I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy the film. Like I said, I will definitely buy it once it comes out, and you guys still should go see it and support the film because it is a good horror movie. I'm not gonna lie. Most people liked it so far. That's seen the early preview. And some people didn't. Some people thought it was whack. You know, I don't think it was whack. Like I said, I thought it was a great movie for what it was and what it is. So yeah, guys, check out Pet Sematary. If you've seen a movie or if you're going to see it this weekend, Post your comments down below and let me know what you thought about the movie. I would love to hear your opinions on it. I would love to hear what you think about, you know, the things that I didn't like or the things I did like. Maybe it's flipped around. Maybe you like the things I hated. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys thought about the movie down below, and I catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.